the growing anti-Semitism globally, but certainly here in America, as it is a wash on social media. So many people blaming the state of Israel for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. What evidence do they have, folks? What evidence do they have? What's the old saying? A lie can get up and go around the world, for the truth has the chance to get out of bed and put its pants on. And here we are. I mean, it is, and these are some people I know. Some of them I know. Some of them I interview, and I've had to try to reach out to them and say, what are you doing? Why are you adding to this? You don't know who killed Charlie Kirk. You know, we're told who killed Charlie Kirk. And yes, I have some serious questions about where is the video of that young man casing that college days and weeks before, because he wasn't from there. So how did he know where to go and get up on that roof? Where's the video footage of him there the day before, a couple days before, a week before? Where's the video footage of him on a shooting range practicing a shot at 200 yards? Where is the video footage of him practicing that kind of shot? There are a lot of questions. And now there are questions about, where did the shot come from? Now, I found out, I guess one of the guys that is in the white hat that everybody's concerned about, adjusting his hat, that turns out to be Frank Turek. I've known Frank for 30 years. He's into apologetics and worldview like we are. He attended as a attendee with his wife our Worldview Weekend in Charlotte, North Carolina, where he lives at the time. I don't know where he lives now, because Norm Geisler was my speaker. Norm spoke for me many times, and Frank was working closely with Norm Geisler. So I still to this day remember standing and talking in the foyer with Frank Turek. And that's who apparently is the guy in the white hat. So can we mark that off the checklist? That these were signals by the guy in the white hat for a sniper? People just need to calm down and go with facts, not conspiracy theories. It's okay to ask questions, though. But people are assuming a lot. It turns out, I'm told by someone that knows, that's not somebody making a signal. That's Frank Turek adjusting his hat. And if that's really Frank, I don't think Frank probably appreciates people saying that kind of stuff about him. Need to reach out to Frank. Now, there are people that are analyzing the videos, and they should be. And it's sad we have to, because nobody trusts the government. And by the way, the trust in the government is going to continue down and down and down. And I'll tell you where, for a lot of people who aren't tuned in to the news, and there are a lot of people, folks, that have checked out of the news. People that used to watch the news, they don't watch the news anymore. People that used to listen to conservative talk radio, they don't do that anymore. Many of them checked out after the 2020 loss because they knew that Joe Biden, sitting in his basement, campaigning from his basement, didn't win that election. And they just thought, this is all for naught. No reason to get yourself all emotionally worked up or charged up when the whole thing is rigged. That's what a lot of them told me. And they checked out. They don't even watch the news anymore. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that are educated, middle to upper class people. They don't watch the news. They don't trust what they're hearing in the news. They don't think it makes a difference. And for many of them, what is going to cause those who maybe even just never watched the news ever? They're just people that never got involved, never listened, don't know anything really about economics, politics, public policy, geopolitics. They don't know anything. They don't want to. They just get up and do their job, think about the next meal, where they're going to eat, the next game they're going to go to, the next fun thing they're going to do, the next vacation they're going to plan. They don't want to know about anything else. Then you have the group that's just trying to survive. The group that's just trying to put food on the table due to inflation. But do you want to know what's going to cause a massive turn on the federal government? When this economy gets to the point, and it's reaching it, when it gets to the point where the dollar is being debased so rapidly that it cannot keep up with everyday expenditures. And we're reaching that. And now we're waiting. Here we are today, September 17th, and we're waiting on the Fed to tell us how much they're going to cut interest rates by. Gold popped up over $3,700. It's back down as we're on the air now, $36.92. Silver is over $42 an ounce. It needs to get to 50 to be at an all-time high. But gold's at an all-time high, popped up over $3,700 today. And when the average American who's not engaged realizes this whole thing has been a scam, not only do they rig elections, not only do they kill a sitting president, JFK, not only do they allow a gunman to get up on the roof at Butler, not only do we not know who was involved in the shooting from the hotel in Vegas, killing a bunch of people at a country concert several years ago, and not only do we not know who killed MLK, RFK, and a lot of them believe the government was involved. Judge Joe Brown has done amazing interviews with us as a former judge here in our county who saw the evidence as was dealing with the retrial of James Earl Ray and can tell you about the missing rifles from the FBI and that the fatal shot likely came from up top at the fire station across the street from the Lorraine Hotel. It didn't come from the flat house. I can tell you that right now. And most Americans don't trust their government. And for those that aren't engaged, and this is the point I'm making, the thing that engages them will be when their dollars no longer pay for the food they need to put on the table, when they can no longer afford basic services. They will realize, and they will learn very quickly, the federal government has been robbing from them with a hidden tax called inflation and stealing the majority of the people's wealth. Just as we've been warning. Now, we're going to watch what the Fed does. We'll report on it tonight. But this whole trust thing comes back to the fact that most people aren't trusting the government. And so they're looking for, and see, when the government isn't honest and doesn't tell the truth and has a long history of lying, people start trying to come up with the answers themselves. And then enters the anti-Semites who say, well, you know, it had to be Israel. Because Charlie Kirk had questions about, I got to get this dog to get off my earpiece, guys. She won't get up. One of the dogs is on my earpiece, and I can't lean forward without pulling my earpiece out. I got a schnauzer laying on top of my earpiece cord. Charlie had some serious questions, like I do, about what goes on sometimes with Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government and the slow response to October 7th and why they weren't listening to some of the ladies in the tower and all that. And these are all legitimate questions. But questioning the Israeli government is not the same thing as claiming that somehow the Jewish state murdered Charlie Kirk. Now, if this Jewish state murdered Charlie Kirk, one would have to ask, where's your evidence? What evidence do you have of that? What's their motivation? Oh, their motivation is that Charlie Kirk was about to turn on Israel and he was going to bring millions and millions of young people, a whole new generation, against Israel. There's no proof he was going to do that. And there's been so much lies put out about this meeting in the Hamptons that the man involved The man involved in the meeting, Ackerman, says, that didn't happen. I never threatened Charlie. I never bribed Charlie. I had no list of things I wanted to go through with him about my concerns of what he thought about various issues, Gaza, whatever. Charlie's producers come out and said, the people in the meeting from our staff have documented that never happened. There are lies being told. Now, I'm not here to defend the Israeli government. The Israeli government can defend themselves. The Israeli government is by far, by the way, one of the worst governments in the world when it comes to PR. They're horrible at PR. One of the worst governments on the planet when it comes to public relations. And there are many reasons I would say that. One reason why is we're one of the most staunch, long-standing Zionist Christian broadcast networks in the world. We do about 1 million views a day. And they can't even return a phone call or a text to us from the American ambassador to Israel or a whole host of other offices we've called to say, we would like to give you a platform to bring some of your people on here in your government to speak directly to millions of Americans, particularly evangelicals. Apparently, they're too lazy, they're too arrogant, they're too stupid. I don't know which one. You decide. Maybe all the above. But I will say, I'm not here to defend the Israeli government. I'm sure they are probably about as corrupt in many areas as my own government. But can we please not confuse the Israeli government with the Jewish people? Can we also remember how many lives has the Israeli government saved by tipping us off on all kinds of terrorism before it happened? I have talked to people that were in some of the most secure, high-level government offices in Washington, D.C. High level. People with multiple stars on their shoulder that have told me personally to my face how many times Israel has helped America avert death of Americans. Isn't it interesting, all the people that want to talk about all the bad things the state of Israel does, but they never want to list off all the good things they do? Do any of them ever know about the fact that Israel, since George H. Bush and U.S. Senator from Minnesota, the lumber guy, Boschwitz, I think his name was bringing black Ethiopian Jews out of Ethiopia to Israel to protect them? I mean, I could go on and on. So let's address this when we come back about Israel and Charlie Kirk.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Bella Grace elixir? And the answer's varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
All right, guys, welcome back. All right, waiting to see what the feds decide here. Okay, they're going to cut interest rates by 25 basis points. That's the first rate cut since 2024, December 2024. All right, well, this is going to create more inflation. I don't know how much. There are other people who said they should have raised interest rates. The bottom line is we got ourselves in a spot where we're like a shark, and the shark has to keep swimming. or it drowns. We have to keep printing money and making credit available to keep the money flowing, or we collapse. So this is where we're at. The question is how many people recognize it and see it for what it's at, what it is and where it's going, which is going to eventually be the full debasement of the U.S. currency by flipping us over to digits. And I don't know how much that will be debased, but it's coming. Joining me now is our reporter out of Israel, Aaron Lavarco. Aaron, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, Brandon, great to be with you. Great to hear what you've been saying.
What do you make of that opening monologue?
Well, you're addressing something that I personally believe is evil. I believe these accusations are false, and I see you've got another case of a blood libel almost against the Jewish people. So I think it's an honorable topic for you to address, because we Jewish people, we've got enough against us. We've got enough people against us. We've got enough topics where people pick on us. We don't need another one. So thank you for bringing it up, and I hope we can get to the root of it. And I hope that those that are coming out and spewing out these lies and conspiracies are exposed, because there's no proof, there's no hard evidence. Show us some proof. Show us that it's the Jewish people. Don't just speak it out and poison people's minds and turn people against us. Show us some proof, hard evidence, and then maybe I can say, you know what, you're right and we're wrong. But
yeah, absolutely. Wait a minute. Wait, we got breaking news here. I thought I was the only one that had a dog in the studio, and I'm looking at a dog on your side there. Whose dog is that? Where'd that dog come from?
It's my son's dog, and my son's in the army, so I'm looking after him, but he won't leave me alone. He's
well,
adorable.
That's fine. I feel more at home. I actually, you want to know something? I looked at them like, wait a minute. How did Dolly get next to Aaron? Thinking you were, for a minute I thought, is Aaron in the studio with me now? Because I've had you in here before, and Dolly would come up and talk to you, as dogs do. And I did a double take. Wait a minute, he's in Israel. Who's that dog? So that's your son's dog. What kind of dog is it?
It's a half Belgian, half Canaanite shepherd.
You have a Canaanite for a dog?
Yeah, that's the breed. A Canaanite Belgian shepherd, and my son adopted him. This is one of the animals that got totally abandoned. Their owner either got murdered or traumatized, or they got lost. And then about a year ago, I was in Tel Aviv. I saw a huge crowd of people, and I go over, and there's tons of dogs, cats, guinea pigs, totally abandoned. Their owners have gone dead, whatever. And they were asking people to either adopt them or at least give some money so that they could feed them and look after them. He's a puppy. He's still growing, and he's still doing some messes on the floor, testing our patience. But he's learning to trust us because I think he's a bit traumatized. But he's adorable, and
he sure likes you. That's obvious.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Stitch.
Stitch. What does that mean? Why are we calling him Stitch? Where'd you get that from?
Well, listen, my son gave him the name Stitch. I don't know why. So that's his name. And I take him for about 5 or 6 walks every day. And he's playful, but he's a handful.
Yeah. Well, I got distracted there, which is not hard for me when it comes to dogs. Well, that's great. I'm glad I did not know you had a dog, and that's good to know. All right. So I think one of the things that frustrates me, Aaron, one of many, is that, my wife says it's important. It's important that we explain to people that the Jewish people, they're not a monotheistic people. You guys are just like America. You have liberal Jews, Marxist Jews, homosexual Jews, New Age Jews, pagan witchcraft Jews, Orthodox Jews, Christian Jews,
Orange Jews,
orange Jews. You have it all, right? And so I don't understand, why the American people, some of them on the America First side, seem to just put everybody in the Jewish state into the same bucket. It's like, are you guys that stupid? I mean, Karl Marx was a Jew. Sigmund Freud was a Jew. George Soros is a Jew. I mean, can we go down the line of all the liberal Jews, right? And do we then use that to paint every Jew? Do we use that to paint every American? Do we do that same kind of thing here in America? And no. So it's okay to question segments of the Jewish community. And that's in part what Charlie was doing. Here's one clip by Charlie that people are using to say, oh, you see, this is what Charlie said not long before he got killed, and this is why they, as they say, they killed him. Listen to what Charlie said.
Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. Now, I don't like generalizations. Not every Jewish person believes that. But it is true, the Anti-Defamation League was part and parcel with Black Lives Matter. It is true that some of the largest financiers of left-wing anti-white causes have been Jewish Americans. They went all in on woke, and it wasn't just ADL. It was some of the top Jewish organizations in the country that have done that. In fact, we have seen this with the recent retreat of Jewish donations that are no longer going to be administered to colleges, right? Mark Rowan, Leon Kaufman. Can we get that full list? It's very powerful. The part of the, so that's totally true. And by the way, Tucker Carlson reinforces this. So I'm going to it was quite a day on the internet. Tucker Carlson was interviewing Candace Owens. We have Candace Owens coming up next hour. And Tucker Carlson mentions that Jewish Americans have primarily been financing cultural Marxist ideas. We said this, by the way, last week, and people came after us.
We were on top of it.
We actually said it in a different way. We said, I'm glad that Jewish Americans are reconsidering their financing of cultural Marxism. And people misunderstood it intentionally and slandered us as being anti-Semites. But listen to this. Tucker Carlson is completely correct by saying this, that the philosophical foundation of anti-whiteness has been largely financed by Jewish donors in the country.
Okay, now that's not shocking to me because anyone that follows us knows that that's what we've been saying now for how many decades? Because it's called the Frankfurt School, okay? The Frankfurt School, they came to America in 1933 from Germany. And what have I told you guys on this TV and radio audience and in my books and in my seminars for years? Many of them were of Jewish descent, right? I've been saying this now for how many decades? Many of them were of Jewish descent. They were liberal Jews. They were scared with all good reason. And they said, you know what, as Jews, we're getting out of Germany. And they decided, with the help of John Dewey, to come to America. Have I hidden that from my audience? No, for a few decades now, I've been telling you some of them were of Jewish descent, decided it was time to leave Germany. That does not make me anti-Semitic. It's not doing anything differently than what you just heard Charlie Kirk doing. And long before most of these kids were even doing what they were doing, we were talking about the Frankfurt School and cultural Marxism and telling you who were the founders of cultural Marxism and that their goal was the destruction of the American family, a patriarchal society, and the free market system, capitalism. Does that make us anti-Jew? No. As I've said before, we're more Jewish than most of the Jews in America. I am more Jewish than most of the Jews in America. Most of them don't care about Israel. The American Jews are a different breed, most of them. That's for sure. What are your thoughts on that, Aaron?
Listen, as a Jew, Brandon, it's a very sensitive topic. I got no problem people calling out people for doing things wrong. it's a little sensitive when Charlie Kirk or others know the temperature around the world towards the Jews. We are at a very sensitive moment in history. Anti-Semitism is worse than before the Holocaust. If you're gonna call out people, which again, there's definitely a space to do that. I think you have to candy coat a little bit by saying, making it clear. Listen, everyone, not every Jew is like this. I'm only talking about a certain kind of Jew. It would be like if there was a Christian who was out on the street and he was speaking about people who commit homosexuals, and a Christian says, "You're going to hell, you're wicked, you're evil," and it's a very unloving way of doing it. And then someone responds by saying, "You know, those Christians are very unloving. They may be speaking what they believe is the truth, but they're very unloving." And they're saying they're generalizing by saying those Christians. That's all I'm saying, Brandon, is one has to, and maybe you, maybe others will disagree with me.
No, I don't disagree. That's why I made the point that Jewish people are not a monotheistic people in that they're all the same. Okay, right. They're Orthodox, they're homosexuals, they're communist, they're liberal, they're conservative, they're Messianic Jews, just like America. Okay, and they want to, but people in America don't seem to understand this. A lot of them, and want to throw all the Jews into the same bucket. Okay, but then we also have to differentiate the Jewish people from the Jewish state. Okay, so let me ask you this: do you really think that Charlie Kirk was saying anything that would really upset the Israeli government to the point of wanting to kill him? Because Charlie was also saying things like this, quote, "I'm a defender of Israel as a homeland for the Jewish people. When I went to Israel, I saw the Bible come to life. We as Christians must honor the Jews. If Israel laid down their weapons, all the Jews would be killed. Israel has a place in God's plan," end quote. All right, you're going to find a lot of that from him. He was a Zionist. So you're telling me one or two comments made the skin of your government so damaged, your government so thin-skinned that a guy in America saying a few things, questioning some of the liberal Jews, some of the Marxist Jews in America, made them kill him? I mean, come on. If your country was that thin-skinned, you guys would have turned Gaza into a parking lot on October 8th and killed everybody, women and children and everybody, even those who had nothing to do with it. You guys are not that thin-skinned. I think after, 2,000 plus years of what you've gone through, I think you're a little thicker skinned than that. I want your response when we come back. Aaron Lavarco, our reporter on the ground in Israel. Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, website worldviewradio.com. I want to cover some other issues going on in Israel. We're going to get to those and in the Middle East in 1 second. But your government isn't so thin-skinned that Charlie Kirk questioning some of the cultural Marxist Jews in America caused them, and maybe even having some concerns with, America getting dragged into wars that BB is leading us into wars. We were saying that over here. We were saying, hey, we want you to defend you. You can buy weapons from us. We can give you satellite technology. We can share intel, whatever you need. But we don't need to send our guys there. We don't need boots on the ground. And we need to be careful of not attacking Iran when they have terror cells likely here in the U.S. and have set up camp in Venezuela, 1,264 miles as the crow flies from Caracas, Venezuela to Miami. And they've been running planes there from Tehran to Caracas for years and may have missiles or who else knows what's there. Not again to mention the terror cells here in the U.S., so we better be careful not to get dragged in to a war in the Middle East. Now, we were saying that I think we can agree to disagree without thinking that, oh my, if Charlie believed the same thing and other things related in that vein, therefore he was questioning the Jews, came to find out the truth about the Jews, and therefore he was killed. I mean, you guys are not that thin-skinned, are you?
No, and Brandon, you know what? If these people who believe that it really was the Israeli government that took them out, why didn't the Israeli government take out in the past Bernie Sanders, George Soros, Chuck Schumer? They are very, very outspoken.
Candace Owens.
Candace Owens, yeah, but I'm talking about even Jews who speak out against us. But a good example, Candace Owens, many other people. Why haven't we taken those people out?
What about the people in your own country? How many, don't you have rabbis? Don't you have Orthodox Jews over there that are protesting on behalf of Palestine?
Absolutely. And we have people in the opposition and sometimes people in Netanyahu's coalition. They get on a plane and they travel to Washington and they speak out against our own government. So again, why don't we take these people out? It's nonsense. It doesn't match. And the other thing, Brandon, Bibi Netanyahu would never get away with it. It would catch up with him. He would be exposed.
VCY has lost us again, second day in a row. I don't know why this keeps happening. Isn't that interesting? All right, so they're going to pick us up by phone for the VCY network, and we'll continue here. So if your government is so thin-skinned, Aaron, why would they not be arresting and charging your own people that are saying some of the same things on the ground in Israel that are Jews, right? Then you got the Arabs. Don't you have some Arabs that are Israeli citizens who are Arabs who are also as actively anti-Israel in many regards? Do you guys kill them? Do you arrest them? Do you throw them in jail?
No, not at all. And one of the things that we take pride in is our democracy and freedom of speech. We don't have PC in Israel. There's no political correctness. You speak what you want. You speak your mind, including Jews, including Arabs, including men, including women, including people in the coalition, including people in the opposition. So the track record speaks for itself. And Charlie Kirk, look, when you weigh up, if you've got a scale, you weigh up the few negative things with all the positives, it's just nonsense. He was a friend of Israel. He is an advocate of Israel. There's nothing wrong with speaking out against our leaders. Hey, I've heard you speak out against Netanyahu. I've spoken out against Netanyahu. Does that mean that I'm against Israel? No. No one's perfect. Our government's not perfect. So I think this should be put to sleep. Anyone listening who really thinks that Israel would do something like this, it's just nonsense. But here's the problem, Brandon, is these people who are coming out and saying it, it's just nonsense. He was a friend. What's happening here? They're sowing seeds of hatred. My question, actually, rather than did Israel take out Charlie Kirk, my question is, who is paying these people, these anti-Semites and anti-Israel advocates, who's paying them to spew all of this negativity against Israel because they're doing a lot of damage.
Started, I don't know, Logan, Thomas, Jeb, didn't a lot of this anti-Jewish talk about Kirk being killed by the Jews start with some of the folks over at InfoWars pretty quick? That Harrison guy? Harrison Smith, did it start with him or some of it? I don't know if that's his last name. All right. But what about Nick Fuentes? Did he start some of this?
No, he doesn't think they did it.
Oh, he doesn't think they did it. Well, that's interesting. So here's the question you ask. Who is anyone paying them to say these things? That's a very good question. And the they is those saying it.
The other thing, Brandon, they say, I'm sure you know this 100 times better than me, but for years and years, the Qatari government, the fundamentalist government, have been sending not millions, but billions of dollars to the American universities.
Yes.
People have been educated at these universities to hate Israel, to hate America, to hate the West. They have been fed with this hatred. They've been indoctrinated. And it seems since October the 7th, it seems to be coming out. People are spewing it out. Isn't it interesting, post October the 7th, how our world has changed dramatically, and it's all coming out.
Well, it is, and you mentioned Qatar. Let's get to that, because I'm reading more and more about Qatar, and yet they do keep funding so much of the garbage going on in our country, and yet we have so many Americans working with Qatar. Businesses, golf clubs, resorts, it just doesn't stop.
Yeah, and it's look, I know Donald Trump's not stupid, and I don't believe he's blind. He knows this information, I'm sure. If you and I know it, he must know it. I think he's keeping the devil close to him, but there's only so far you can go. There's got to be something done with these Qataris, and I think Israel knew very, very well, even though Qatar were acting as the mediator, we put up with it. We played the game, and we knew very well that by hitting the Hamas leaders on Qatari soil, sovereign soil, we were going to make an enemy out of Qatar. We were going to have that door closed. We paid that price. I'm glad we paid the price. We know what's going on.
Well, here's what one of your people said. It's at worldviewreport.com today. Former Mossad official, Qatar is purchasing the West on behalf of Islam. Adid Alam, former head of the counterterrorism division in the Mossad, says that Qatar presents itself as a global mediator while funding terror and buying influence through real estate companies, sports clubs, and even politicians, all to cement its international power. Yeah.
And Brennan, I've been listening to Saudi Arabian sheikhs who are saying the same thing. Saudi Arabians, they know it. Everyone knows it. They are mega, mega rich, and they've been doing it for years. Whatever they want, they've got the money to purchase it, and they have been successful in it. But the real damage that I see is what they've been doing by infiltrating the universities in the United States. Your distinguished guest a number of times, Alan Dershowitz, he used to be the toast of Harvard University, where he apparently was a professor of international law. Now he says he never gets any invitations there. He's not welcome there anymore. What has turned? What has happened? It's Qatar. Everything points at Qatar. The public, I don't know about saying the public need to wake up. What can they do now? I don't know, but I hope that the security, I hope the officials, I hope they know about this, and I hope they root it out at the very core, and they expose it, and they cut these ties, and they don't let the Qataris influence anymore. I don't know who controls that, Brandon, in America. I don't know who has the power to stop this if
Yeah.
they had them.
Let me switch real quick to Benjamin Netanyahu warns Israel is entering isolation. Will need to adapt to a self-reliant economy. It's a brand new article I put up over at worldviewreport.com. I mean, it seems like the Bible's coming true. All the world will turn against Israel. All the nations. Think all means all. And it's happening. Even America, which has been one of its longest allies. And of course, I asked the question a long time ago. Why, with all of your technology, did you guys not make it so you didn't have to buy weapons or anything from people? Why have you waited so long to be self-sufficient? I mean, again, no people are perfect, me being among them, but I would think at some level, your government was short-sighted. Did they not see this coming?
Yeah, you're right, Brandon. And this is one of the positive things, I dare say it, one of the positive things that's come from October the 7th. It's a wake-up call in so many sectors of our society. And Netanyahu said, what the biggest thing that he's learned from this war and the anti-Israel is how important it is for us to become self-sufficient. And so, I read that report as well, and there's some very concerned people. I read some reports, Brennan, that everything is going to be, prices are going to be going sky high on everything, that we need to be prepared for this. But you know what? The fact that you mentioned something from God's word, that all the nations are going to come against us, that is a reminder to us that God is in control, that he said thousands of years ago this was going to happen. It is happening. So he's not surprised by it. We need not be surprised by it, but we need to get ready. We need to prepare and put our seatbelts on, because it's going to be an uncomfortable, rough, rocky road. And this is where the words of Joshua come to us. Be strong and courageous. We need courage to face this. I mean, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions against Israel, it's very painful. I mean, friends, including America, nations that have been friendly towards us, are turning viciously against us. Australia, New Zealand, unbelievable, stopping sales in Judea and Samaria, boycotting our goods. Very, very hard to take.
Yeah. And by the way, one of our regular listeners, Rich, is making clear that dog is no longer your son's dog. That dog is clearly your dog now. Does your son know this, by the way, that you stole his dog?
I didn't steal his dog.
You stole the dog's affection.
My son slapped his dog on my lap.
1-800-347-9829. Phone line's open.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, website worldviewradio.com, 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions. What do you make of this, folks? Some of you have emailed us asking us to do a show on this, so here we are. 1-800-347-9829, 1-800-347-9829. I said to Annie Cyrus the other night, I said, hey, Annie, we got to worry about getting taken out or attacked by the Islamist, the Marxist, the globalist, the LGBTQ, trans, militant, gun-toting crowd. I guess we have to add another possibility of potential targets are the anti-Semites on the right. I said, wouldn't that be ironic if we end up getting physically attacked by anti-Semites on the right? Pretty soon I'm going to have to call it the new right, almost like the new Reich. Aaron?
Listen, Brandon, that we do have even what are called self-hating Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And you quoted before Karl Marx, Sigmund Freud, two of the most influential Jews or two of the most influential human beings of the 20th century. And what about people like Albert Einstein, who was working for the good of mankind, and yet people are totally against nuclear power or nuclear weapons? That's a target for anti-Semitism as well. People can twist that around.
Yep.
So I agree.
Let's go to George, line 1. Hi, George from Illinois.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. The Bible clearly says that Jesus said the kingdom of God is at hand. The kingdom of God is inside of you. Charlie Kirk, CK, basically is an ambassador, as we all should be ambassadors for the kingdom of God. He was discipling and leading people to understand more what is expected of us as Christians. And the guy that killed him was doing the work of the enemy.
Mm. Thank you, George. And we're still having I sent one of the videos last night. I found one of the most precise videos to date from my quick analysis of it, of a expert, a shooter, weapons guy, talking about the wound in Charlie's neck as to whether that was an entry wound or an exit wound. And I'm starting to think that might be the exit wound. And I sent it over today to a friend of mine who is a literal rocket scientist putting up rockets and satellites for the military, Jason Pratt. And he's also a federally licensed gun dealer. And I said, will you study this and use science? Use science, the known laws of the universe and movement and trajectory and all that. And he's studying it for me because I want to get to the truth about who really did this. And I think we should do that because we can't trust our government. 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions. Do you guys think the Israeli government did it? Yes or no? Yes or no? Let's go to the phone lines. Chris, line 4. Chris, thanks for calling in, Chris.
Hey, Brandon, thanks for taking my call. Great show as always.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I think one person in particular who's really been screaming a lot of anti-Semitism since October 7th happened, and it's not just him, but it's a lot of people, but this one guy in particular I think has really been the worst, is a guy by the name of Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. Now, I don't watch that show, but I've seen clips of him on various news interviews and panel discussions, and he just screams. He goes on these anti-Semitic shouting tirades against Israel. In fact, he was on with Jonathan Conricus, Doron Spielman. He just berates these guys, and he calls Israel a terrorist state. The guy is just an absolute reprobate. And he actually ran for president before Trump was in. The guy is just an absolute reprobate. He's of Turkish descent, but he is just, I think, one person that's really fueled a lot of this anti-Semitism, and that's just my opinion on it.
Wow,
so.
I'm glad you called in. Aaron was shaking his head. You must know about them, Aaron?
I've seen him many times, and our guest on the line is totally right. But he sets himself up because people like Douglas Murray, people like the son of Hamas, they know how to talk to this guy because his arguments are so flawless. But he's got a nasty anti-Israel, anti-Jew. And of course, he lives in a total denial. He makes out that he doesn't. He just wants to find a peaceful solution. But deep down, it's very clear what our friend just said. He's a vicious man, hates Israel, and hates the Jewish people.
Laura, line 1. Laura calling in from Arizona. Hi, Laura.
Hi. My question is that, do you think, Aaron, that and Brandon, that the Qatar hired this kid or another network, because Israel bombed some, and killed some people, which needed to be, and President Trump knew.
Now, that's very interesting. And I think partly what she's saying here, if I can read between the lines, Aaron, is wouldn't it make sense for the Qataris or any of these groups that have so much money to start hiring people and influence people to kill people that have traditionally been pro-Israel? If we can't get to the president, let's get after his friends. Whoa, wait a minute. That opens up a whole nother area of soft targets. Let's go after President Trump's friends. Could they be doing that, Aaron?
Anything's possible. And if we can somehow expose, get it out public, where the Qataris have placed their money over the years, nothing will shock us by this.
Not to mention, look at what it's done. It's created many Americans to come against Israel. So if you do this as the enemies of Israel, like Qatar or Iran, look at what it's done for their message.
Brandon, this has been strategic. They've sent in billions, and it's been under our noses, under your nose in America, and they've got away with it.
Yep. Let's go to Tim in Georgia. Tim, line 2. Go ahead, Tim.
Hey, fellas, how are y'all doing today?
Good, thanks.
I haven't been able to catch most of the show this afternoon, but my question is directly to Aaron, basically. If there was a process, Aaron, for American citizens to move to Israel and become part of y'all's world, is that something that is doable, or what's the laws over in Israel concerning that?
Yeah, very difficult, brother. If you've got any trace of Jewish blood, you need on either side, your mother or your father, down to a grandparent. Meaning, if you've just got one grandparent on either side, a document, you're in. You can immigrate. Other than that, you may have to marry someone Jewish, or these days money talks.
All right, stay tuned for Crosstalk. Take care, guys. And we're back with Aaron on WROS and Worldview 2. Pick it up from there, Aaron. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just saying it's very difficult immigrating to Israel unless you're Jewish, or I do believe if you've got money and you can purchase property, or if you've got a job, somehow you can get a long-term job. You can easily get a work permit. That's easy. And if it's a job that, let's say, it's going to be long-term, 10, 20 years, you're in. You can stay here. You can buy property, and every so often you get your visa renewed. But as far as immigrating, becoming a citizen, I think really the only ticket is if you've got Jewish blood. And as I said, the law of return to Israel is you only need one grandparent on either side. So if you've got a document, a birth certificate, a death certificate, a marriage certificate, you're in. So come over and have a glass of wine with me, brother.
There you go. All right, what else are you watching? You guys had a bunch of rockets coming in from the Houthis yesterday, right?
We did, Brandon. I was actually guiding. I mentioned to you a few people from your neighborhood.
Yep, my old stomping grounds up there in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, and I took them on the road to Emmaus, just outside of Jerusalem, and in the middle of the forest, in the middle of nowhere, talking about Luke 24, meditating on the story, and all of a sudden the sirens go off, wow. And the chances of a rocket hitting us there, very low, but feeling the need to be responsible for my friends, I said, let's just find a rock, let's hide ourselves under here, and then the sirens finished. But yes, rockets are still being fired from the Houthis. We were able to intercept them before they reached our airspace, but they're relentless. They're not giving up, and we are attacking the Houthis more. We're attacking Hamas. There's about 3,000 more Hamas fighters, Brandon. That's all. 3,000 more. We've got tanks on the ground. We're still firing from the air. Hamas are very close to being finished. About 400,000 Palestinians now have left the Gaza Strip. So we are completing the mission that we started off with on October the 8th. Netanyahu said, we've got to do this. We've got to get rid of Hamas. It's taken us almost 2 years, but we're doing it. And thanks to our brave, courageous, enduring soldiers, the price they had to pay. It's unbelievable that, the stories that I'm continuing to hear, Brandon, about the PTSD, the breakdown of families, the breakdown of work life, the financial, emotional, mental cost of this war. I don't know how this generation, the young generation, especially those fighters, are going to be able to, get over this. But a big part of it, I do believe, is victory. When we get that victory, there's going to be celebrations, but there's still work to be done.
All right. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Congresswoman, has just put out today a tweet or text she had with Charlie Kirk, where he said to her, you should speak at AmFest. Would you like to do a debate about AIPAC? Not with me, no pressure. We'll do whatever you want. Can you explain why, again, these people all think that the Jews are running in the world and paying? I mean, how much money does AIPAC even bring in? You know?
Well, I remember about 10 years ago, Brandon, I was in Belgium, and I had the privilege of meeting the chief rabbi. And he for 25 years in New York. And he was the one who explained to me all about AIPAC and their goals. And let me tell you, they're a powerful, I don't know what the word is, organization. Their idea decades ago was, to get these wealthy Jewish businessmen and get their children to go to school with other children, to befriend them, to get them friends of Israel, friends of the Jewish world. So by the time that their friends go to universities and then graduate and then enter into politics, they're all friends of the Jewish state and the Jewish people. So it's a strategic goal, AIPAC. I don't know these days to what extent their influence is. But just like the Qataris, Jewish people also have money, and they also are strategists. But listen, we're not doing it, Brandon, at least in my opinion.
They apparently spent $3.5 million lobbying in 2018, okay? So $3.5 million lobbying. It doesn't sound like they bring in $100 million a year. I think a lot of people are giving them more credit than they have ability, even financially, to do, right?
Yeah, but what I've heard, Brandon, is that apparently there's a law in the United States that you can only give up to a certain amount.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron